Hey guys, what's up? It's Megan. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. First and foremost, I just want to talk to you guys about me changing my name. Obviously, my name is Megan, but I'm going to start calling my YouTube channel The Mind Bar. And so mind stands for mental illness does not define. And I know that for the last year, my channel has been called Slaying the Stigma, which I still like that name, but I want to be consistent because I did start an Instagram page called The Mind Bar, and I will link that below. I would love it if anyone out there would follow my Instagram page because just like this channel, I talk about mental health, I talk about my sobriety and my having bipolar type 1 disorders. I just want to say I'm so grateful for all of you out there for supporting me and supporting my channel. It means everything to me. So let's get right into today's video. So today I wanted to make a video talking about my experience in a dual diagnosis treatment facility. So I want to talk a little bit about how I got to the treatment center. I know that a couple of videos back I talked about my major manic episode that happened in 2018, and I know that video got a lot of hits because it's a pretty wild story. So yeah, if you missed that video, go ahead and look back to the last couple of videos talking about my manic episode, and it'll catch you up to right now. So basically, an overview, I went to a treatment center in California. I was really extremely manic with bipolar type 1 disorder, having a very severe manic episode. I ran away from the California treatment center. I was manic on the streets of California for about 48 hours until I was detained by the police and taken to a psych facility in LA. And then from there, I had a couple of more days wild out in California, manic, until I finally agreed to go to a dual diagnosis treatment facility on the East Coast. So I'm from Seattle, and like I said, the first place I went was California, but then from California, I flew to Pennsylvania. Well, I flew into New Jersey and then drove to Pennsylvania to stay at a treatment facility called Footprints to Recovery, and I highly recommend it for anyone out there that is looking for help with substance abuse and having a mental illness. I think that it's a great program and treatment facility, and I don't think I would be where I'm at today had I not gone there. So I highly recommend that. Excuse me. So okay, so basically June 7th of 2018 is my sober date, and that's the day that I was on the plane from California to New Jersey. And I had never been so low and so broken in my entire life. I was in such a dark place. Like, it's hard to even describe like how terrible I felt, because it was just like everything had built up to that point where it was like my life before discovering that I have a mental illness, my life between discovering having a mental illness and getting on that plane. I was in so much pain and I was so broken. And I truly believe that that's when people are going to make changes. If a person feels so broken, they are then so willing to do anything to make that change. And I think I had gotten to that point. Everybody has their own journey with that, and everyone has to make that decision for themselves, and it just kind of happens when it happens. It's different for everybody, but I knew going on that plane to the East Coast, I never, ever wanted to be in that dark of a place again. And so basically, I'm just going to kind of talk about my story of what it was like for me in that treatment facility. So I'm on the plane to New Jersey. I arrive to New Jersey. I took the red eye, got there early in the morning, and I was so severely sick. I hadn't slept in days. I had alcohol withdrawals. I was in such a bad place. I was so tired, but yet so wired from the experience of traveling and knowing that I'm going across the country away from my safety net, which is my home in Seattle, and I'm gonna be gone for what I thought was gonna be 30 days, but I ended up staying 70 days, which was for the best. But again, I wasn't prepared for that. I wasn't really prepared that I was going to be getting sober. I wasn't prepared for how long I was going to be away from my husband and my dog. And so I think it's important to note that my husband and I were in a really dark place when I went to the treatment facility. Our marriage was not good because leading up to that point, I was drinking heavily, very heavily, to the point where I was hiding bottles of alcohol around the house, and I wasn't taking my medication, and my husband and I were arguing all the time. And then when I went to the treatment facility in California, when I ran away from that treatment facility and I was manic running around LA, my husband did call the police to have me detained and taken me to a psych ward, which now I understand and I'm calm about it. But at that time, I was absolutely irate because I just felt so misunderstood. For me, when I'm having manic episodes, I feel extremely misunderstood and judged, and that people just don't get it, and I get very angry and I'm hurt, and I just want to isolate myself and be alone and be around people that don't know me very well, because I feel like those people treat me with the humanity and respect that I want and need during those times. Whereas, unfortunately, it gets pretty nasty and hostile between myself and my loved ones when I'm sick. And I hope that we've all come a long way, and I hope that that is changed and for the better moving forward if I was to ever get sick again. But you know, you can always hope and pray. Like, I can't control anybody but myself. I've tried to talk to my husband and my family about you know, how to talk to me and treat me if I'm in that sort of a space. So hopefully we don't ever have to test the waters with that. But anyhow, so when I got to the East Coast, I had all this anger and resentment towards my husband for calling the police on me, because in the psych ward in the last couple of years, I have been sexually abused and harassed by employees of the psych facilities, which is disgusting to me and still terrible. I think that I've disassociated myself with that because the reality of that happening is too painful. So I've had a lot of disassociation with that. But basically, I went into the treatment facility hating and loathing my husband and wanting to get divorced. I was very adamant that we were not going to stay married, and I was very vocal about that when I got to the treatment center. You know, I was telling everyone that would listen, like, I'm being abused, like, you know, that's kind of where I go when I'm manic, is I just feel so misunderstood and mistreated by loved ones in my life that I'm very, like, wanting to start a new life. I don't want anything to do with my family. I don't want anything to do with my husband, and I just want to be left the fuck alone, and I want to start a new life. And so I was very vocal in telling everyone, like, I hate my husband, I want to get divorced. And so basically, I got to the airport, some woman picked me up and drove me to the New Jersey Footprints facility, and then this man picked me up and drove me to Pennsylvania, to the Pennsylvania Footprints to Recovery, and he stopped and got me McDonald's, and then we got to the treatment facility, and I was completely out of it. Bags under my eyes, alcohol withdrawals, hadn't slept in days. I'm running, like, my brain is going a million miles an hour. I just, it's so hard to explain, but you feel physically sick, mentally sick, you feel crazed, you feel like angry, you feel hostile. I felt all of these types of things. So when I got to the facility, they wanted to take my picture, which I was just like, what the fuck? But they made me take a picture right when I got there. I looked terrible. Actually, I don't know where that picture is, but it'd probably be pretty fascinating to see what I looked like back then. Also probably pretty hurtful. It would probably like devastate me to see like how out of it and sick I looked. But anyhow, Then they took me into a room and were asking me very heavy, very deep questions for like my intake. Typically when you go to a dual diagnosis treatment facility or a rehab facility, they do an intake and ask you a bunch of questions, which is very difficult when you're in the state of mind that I was in. I was very resistant to answering these questions, not because I didn't want to answer them, but because I was incapable. I was so sick mentally and physically that I couldn't even answer even the simplest of questions. And they kept trying to pressure me to answer the questions. And I was like screaming at them. I laid on the ground in all my clothes in this office. I was like, I need to sleep. I want to be left alone. And I just kind of threw a fit because I just felt like, again, misunderstood. Like, these people aren't listening to me. I'm not well. I need a fucking bed. I need a shower, and I need some medication, and I need to like lay down. And basically, after a tug of war between them, they finally agreed to like let me off the hook with the intake questions and just do the intake the next day. And so basically the way the facility was set up was, it was actually a really beautiful facility, brand new pretty much. So you walk in and there's like the front desk, and then there's like a hallway with all the offices of all the therapists, the clinical director, the psychiatrist. So they have all of that kind of stuff in which they call it clinical. So I got reassessed the first day to see basically if she thought I had bipolar disorder or borderline personality disorder. And so again, she asked me a bunch of questions, and I was just like so sick, but she said I had bipolar type 1 disorder with psychotic features, which is just hard for me to even say to this day, but that's like my true diagnosis, as well as PTSD. So then I went out into the common area where there's tables and puzzles and card games and a kitchen and just this huge like lounge area. And like I said, it was very modern and very new, and there's just like a bunch of people in the treatment facilities. So I'm kind of manic, so I'm feeling friendly. So I go around and like introduce myself to everyone. And I could just tell right away there was certain girls in the treatment facility that automatically like didn't like me, because when I'm manic, I'm very loud and boisterous and kind of like, you know, I come off as like maybe a threat or intimidating, or, you know, I'm just very like bold and like kind of put off that energy, like nobody fuck with me kind of a thing. So I could tell right away the energy between myself and some of the other females in the treatment facility was like not good energy. You know, I could tell they didn't fucking like me. So I was just like, whatever. So basically then from there, I was left off the hook with the rest of that day at clinical because I was so unwell that they were going to drive me to the sober living. So clinical, again, is where they have the psychiatrist's office and all the therapist's office, and then they have different rooms for group therapy, and then they have the common area with tables and chairs and couches and a kitchen. And basically I went to the clinical 5 days a week, from about 8 in the morning until 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And that's what I did for those whole 70 days that I was in treatment, is 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. I did clinical from 8 a.m. to 3. So the first day they drove me to the sober living, which the sober living was about 30 minutes from clinical. And it was a hotel. I mean, low key, high key, it was a fucking hotel. I lived in a hotel for 70 days, which was really nice. Again, they brought me there to the hotel, and they have the hotel rooms where it's like the employees they have a hotel room where the employees kind of do their thing, and then also they have like the medication dispensary. And so most people that are in this dual diagnosis treatment facility have a dual diagnosis. They have the substance abuse issues, and they also have a mental illness. So basically, from there, I had to do another intake. I told them I can't really do this shit. Like, have me sign whatever, like, let me go to bed. And so basically they assigned me to a hotel room, and having a roommate with another girl that had been already in the treatment facility for a while. And my first roommate, her name is Amber, and she was a couple years older than me, but I felt like we had good vibes and we got along pretty well for the most part. It's awkward because the way that it's set up is like in each hotel room 2 people stay, so one person has like the bedroom with like the king size bed and like the walk-in bathroom, walk-in closet, all that shit, and then the new person has to sleep on like a twin bed in the living room of the hotel. So it's really awkward because I felt like I needed my space, I needed my time, and like I really didn't have any of that because at the Sober Living, they have people that work there that come into the rooms every half hour, on the half hour, 24/7, just to make sure that nobody is using or abusing drugs or alcohol. And so I found out then that I was going to be forced to go to Alcoholics Anonymous meetings, which I was not down for that. I didn't identify as an alcoholic. I didn't think I wanted to be sober. I was like, fuck that shit. And they basically told me, because I had to give them my phone, my belongings, all that kind of shit when I got there. And they're like, you know, if you don't go to these meetings, you're not going to get privileges to your phone. And so I was like, okay, so I'll go to the meetings or whatever. So 7 days a week, we went to at least 1 to 2 Alcoholics Anonymous meetings a day, which I didn't love because, again, I didn't think I had a problem. I didn't really want anything to do with that. But they said at the treatment facility for me to get a sponsor, and the sooner I got a sponsor, the sooner I would get privileges with my phone and social media and all that shit. And so I ended up getting a sponsor and doing what I was told because I wanted to have these privileges. And so I had a sponsor on the East Coast and in Pennsylvania, and oh my gosh, you wouldn't even believe it. I don't even remember her name. That's like seriously so sad. But oh, it's Kim. Her name is Kim. Yeah, that's right. And she was very sweet at the time. She had 2 years sober. She has 2 kids, a good job, and she really was there to like guide me. And once I got to a certain place in the treatment, like probably like a month in, it was allowed for her to come pick me up from the hotel and take me to meetings, or, you know, to go grab a bite to eat or whatever the case, which was nice. So again, at a dual diagnosis treatment facility, you're kind of thrown into this environment where all of a sudden you're living and being around 30 new people that you don't even know. And Footprints to Recovery is a co-ed treatment facility, so there was guys and girls. And yeah, it was just like all of a sudden I have to meet like all these new people. And I'll be honest, like from the beginning, no one really liked me. Like people pretty much just, they already had their bond and their friends, and I just felt isolated on the outside. So I would just, at the time I was smoking a lot of cigarettes, so I would just kind of sit off to the side by myself smoking my cigarettes. And in the beginning, probably the first like couple of weeks of me being in treatment, I almost got into a couple of fist fights with different girls because I felt like, I don't want to use the word bullied me, but like I would watch the way they treated other people, and sometimes I would just be sitting back smoking my cigarettes, listening to the other girls talk, and I felt like it's kind of like in treatment, it's like a high school, it's like a popularity contest. So it's like these mean girls that have been in treatment for like maybe a month, they're already all friends with each other, and I would just listen to them gossiping about other people. And I specifically remember like telling them like, hey, shut the fuck up, like stop being rude to like so and so. I don't even remember who I was standing up for, but I just remember like I caught a really bad rap from like Jump, and that's probably that's probably because I was so manic. When I'm manic, I don't have any filter. I just say and do whatever first comes to mind. I don't think twice about anything. I just go for it. And that's definitely gotten me into some trouble. Like, that's for damn sure. So, yeah, trying to think what's next. So, yeah, like I said, I didn't get along with a lot of the girls in the beginning. A lot of them really hated me and would talk shit about me, but I wasn't very nice to them either. So I kind of just did my own thing, and I kind of became friends with a lot of the guys. And like I said, I was very vocal about like hating my husband and like not wanting to be with him anymore. And so a lot of the guys in the treatment facility, you know, would like hit on me, which honestly like made me feel good about myself. It made me feel confidence because I was so broken down and felt like no confidence because of all the problems in my marriage and because of having a mental illness and just feeling so broken down. And so although it's like petty and stupid, it made me feel really good about myself that not only did the guys think I was like 25, they also would tell me how pretty I am, and like it did make me feel good about myself to be like on the other side of the country and to be getting this validation that I look good. And sometimes when you're in a dark place, like that goes a long way. I'm not like proud to say that now, but that's the truth. That's really what I was going through at the time. I was really struggling, and to get that validation from other people thinking highly of me made it a little easier to get through. But throughout my time in the facility, I eventually got phone privileges. I would talk to my mom, I would talk to my husband, and basically things were not good with my husband and I on the phone for a while, and for quite some time I didn't even really talk to him, which is really sad. And I know that my husband has really struggled during this time. You know, he had to still go to work at his full-time job and take care of our dog and coach CrossFit, and he didn't really have the support of pretty much anybody because nobody understood or really knew like what we were truly going through. And that's what's sad. And let's like be the change you wish to see in the world. Like something I wish to change is like a lot of times when people see other people struggling with something, they go radio silent because they don't know what to say or what to do. But saying something is better than saying nothing. I'm just gonna put that out there. Like even someone messaging my husband and just saying, hey, like I hope you're doing good, like sending good vibes your way, that would go a long ass way. So if in your life, this is like a side note, if in your life you see someone going through something and you feel awkward and uncomfortable because the situation is like so far out of your realm of understanding, you don't know what to do, don't do nothing. Don't go radio silent. Always keep communication with people that are struggling because you have no idea how much it means to someone to receive that support. Even if we know that people don't understand, like I know for myself with everything I've been through, those people that have sent those like simple messages telling me they care about me like has really gone a very long way. So again, I got to the treatment facility on June 7th of 2018 and I left August 17th of 2018. So I had a couple of months sober by the time I got home to Seattle. But that's when things really got hard for me, is when I returned to Seattle. I fell into one of the deepest depressions I've ever fallen into, and it wasn't because of my mental illness. It was because I had to accept that like I couldn't drink anymore, and that was so terribly hard for me. I mean, August of 2018 and September of 2018 and most of October of 2018 were the hardest, most difficult months of my life. Besides when I had my suicidal depression in 2016, this was just hell. Like sitting in all the disgust and hatred of myself and not having alcohol or drugs to numb it. I mean, of course the alcohol and the drugs was there, but I knew I was desperate and willing to try something different. And that's usually when people decide to get sober, is when they're so broken down and so desperate, they're willing to try something different. And for myself, I knew that I had never tried sobriety. So I was to a place where I was so desperate that although I didn't know if I could commit to sobriety forever, I knew that it's something that I really wanted to try because I had never tried it. And it was like I wanted to do anything to help myself feel better. And so that's basically what I did. So this video has gone on for long enough. I will do another video kind of finishing up talking about the Dual Diagnosis Treatment Center, and then talking about my story in early sobriety and early recovery when I got back to Seattle in the late summer, early fall of 2018. And so anyways, I love you guys. Thank you so much for supporting me and supporting my YouTube channel. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye.